Ready? Welcome to Sports Back Talk with Boly and Ringer, and woo!
All those people here.
All those people here at Looney's and taking care of us and making the show happen. That's what it's all about, right, Mike?
Before I move on, I got something to unveil.
You got your UMD. Oh, look at the power! Woohoo!
Did you lose a bet?
I actually did. No, I went to a Gopher football game here a few years back, and I, do as the Romans do, and I went and bought myself a Gopher sweater, and here I am. Thought I'd never wear one of these, but
there you are.
I just tell everybody
it's not a hockey Gopher sweatshirt, or is it?
No, I just tell everybody it's an M for Mike. That's nothing to do with no.
Fair enough.
So there I am.
Here you are. So, well, I went to the cities on Saturday and watched the Gopher game at an establishment with a bunch of old Gopher football equipment managers and Gopher trainers and a couple of former players, and had a little good time and got to see a few people I hadn't seen in a while, and so it was a good time. And it was unfortunate the Gophers had to do about the same thing that they did with when you went and watched them live a couple Saturdays ago.
Yeah, what establishment? Why didn't you go to the actual game? No, it was in Purdue.
It was in Purdue. J.D. Hoyt's, down on Washington Avenue, and J.D. Hoyt's and the equipment room staffs at the U have had a long history of being associated, and so they took care of us very nicely, and it was a good time. And so,
any celebrities or anything, or just
celebrities? I would say no in the celebrity department. Just a lot of hardworking guys that knew how to have a good time.
So you're saying celebrities don't work hard?
Sometimes it's probably the case.
Can't answer that, huh?
Because I'm a celebrity. So anyway, what's foremost on your mind? You want to start with the Wild?
Well, we can start there.
And their fabulous start on the road with two. What's the word you want to put?
Subpar.
Subpar. I like that.
Yeah, very subpar. We only know it's 2 weeks in. Go ahead.
Played better though on Saturday night than on Thursday night? No? Okay.
No.
I was listening to it on the way home from the cities, and
and I'm comparing them to last year's Wild team. I mean, just very, very poor, I thought.
As far as
pretty much everything. They got to realize special teams are going to be a big part of this year because of all the penalties. You're seeing 6 to 10 penalties called on each team every game. So if your power play and penalty kill are off right now, that's going to put you behind the 8 ball. And right now the Wild's special teams are not good, and it's going to cost them early on. And Coyle, there's so much talent there, but it just seems like all we hear is how much talent he has.
So is this a guy that the Wild end up trading and he goes plays for somebody else and he becomes a Wild killer, or he becomes this phenom?
No, he's with the Wild.
David Ortiz, or
he's with the Wild for another 3 years, so they got that set. But he just won't make that next step, and I'm not sure why he can't.
Okay.
Maybe he will eventually later on in the year, but right now he's not there. And they got a lot of those players. And a couple of them are not playing. Parisi, he practiced today for the first time. And Granlund now mysteriously came up with a groin injury. Came into camp with a ankle issue.
Okay.
Much like Parisi came into camp with the back issue. So I commented on that and kind of got beat up. How dare you go after and say things about, Parisi and Granlund? I said, well, I'm just commenting. I said, if I was a GM, I'd be a little perturbed that 2 of my top 4 players aren't ready for training camp because they got injured doing something else. And some comments came back, well, aren't they allowed to work out or play or anything like that? I said, well, yeah, they are. I said, but, be careful, because if you get hurt and you're unable to be used, the owner and the general manager have every right to be upset about that. And that's the only comment I was making towards is, they get paid a lot of money, so they better come into camp 100%.
So I'm going to continue to play the devil's advocate here because
That's what you do.
That's my specialty. So they gave up the go-ahead goal and with 94 seconds left or something, and then they get the tying goal in the last moments. That had to be a positive for you.
Well, there was energy at the end. You know, desperation is the word.
Yeah.
Intensity. Why does it take you to get down by one goal with less than a minute and a half to bring that out? You shouldn't have to. Not at this level, Ringer. It's just this is what they do. And for players, and I could name a bunch, they just are not playing with a lot of intensity. And the new guys, Foligno and Ennis, who I thought were really going to help, they look lost. Eck looks lost.
Do you think it's just because they haven't got the chemistry yet? And
well, Pominville heads to Buffalo, and all of a sudden he can score again. He's skating well, and sometimes you wonder maybe the undue pressure of playing in Minnesota causes players to tense up, and
maybe
I don't know what it is. They just seems like players that come here just don't play up to expectations. That's my opinion. Again, it's early in the year, 2 games in. They beat the Blackhawks on Thursday. I mean, and they didn't start out great last year, but they were 11-8 the first 19 games, so they were right there. But you don't want to fall behind too quickly. Winnipeg's already struggling. Nashville's struggling. So the Wild aren't alone in teams that are expected to do well as far as. And their experience, they got a lot of older guys, so hopefully they get out of that.
How's Stalock looking goal?
Good. Really good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have no issues with goaltending. Well, I shouldn't say that. Dubnyk let in a couple.
I figured you got to have a Dubnyk jab.
Well, Dubnyk's always good to let one in that he should have every game unless he gets a shutout. But interesting comments by NHL GMs that came out last week and rating the goalies. And Dubnyk didn't rate real high. And most were asked why, and they just said it's a product of the system the Wild have run over the years. Well, if that system is in play right now, the first 2 games of the year, they're going to be facing a lot of pucks. We're averaging about 38 to 40 shots a game in 2 games. So if that's a product of our system, then those 2 goalies better be standing on their head, and Bobby Mason better figure out he's got his work cut out for him, but Bob will be able to handle that.
Anything else about the Wild? Or the NHL in general, I guess?
NHL, Blues won again today. They're 3-0, so they're off to a good start. One of the teams I thought would, go under a little bit with Yell under the regime for a second straight year. They're off to a good start. Las Vegas is 2-0.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew that. They've won 2 one-goal games. James Neal has 3 goals. The old Nashville Predator, and now all the Predator fans are saying, why did we leave him available, of course. And
that's the way it works, right?
Yeah, it's the way it works. They got a good team, and this is a lot different than when the Wild were with Columbus when they had their expansion draft. And teams back then only had to, they could protect like 16 players, and they didn't have to leave a whole bunch of players like these other teams.
Sure.
So it gives Las Vegas a nice advantage early on. I see Holla's getting regular minutes. Tuck, no surprise to me, was sent back to the minors, and my opinion, he'll probably be there for his career.
Wow.
So I'm not unless he does something to change his work habits on the ice. He's got to bring a little more passion to the game. I look at him kind of like another East Coast. Again, I'm not slamming East Coast players, but kind of
he was one of them.
Yeah, well, kind of. Charlie Coyle.
You left Minnesota to go play at Providence. I got to call you an East Coast.
Yeah, but I didn't have the accent. But Charlie Coyle is kind of similar. Big guy, 6'4", doesn't play real aggressive contact hockey, and similar to Tuck. As Tuck had his chance, they wanted him to make that team last year. And he got 6 opportunities and showed him nothing, and shipped off to Las Vegas because of it. So other than that, for not having anything to say about hockey, I said a little bit.
Did you watch any college hockey this weekend with the UMD?
I did. I watched the UMD and Minnesota game. I find it ironic that Fox Sports North, instead of carrying the Gopher UMD game, was carrying Wisconsin against Ohio State.
That must have been a product of the TV rights that went with UMD getting the tournament. My 9 must have gotten first chance to do those, I'm guessing.
Maybe, don't know the specifics, but us people up in the Northland benefited. Lots of complaints from Twitter friends that, they couldn't get the game. Of course, they don't have My 9 down in the metro area.
Sure.
So they had to sit
But you got to get on the internet, folks. Come on.
Yeah, I had to sit there and watch.
Get out of the 19th century.
Yeah, so they watched the game, Wisconsin and Ohio State, hoo-hoo. And at least the Eves isn't there anymore. My brother's happy about that.
Sure.
You don't see the 1-0 games anymore, but they got Granato there now, and he's got that ship going the right way. So look for Wisconsin to be a contender here the next couple of years. Maybe not this year, but Wisconsin's a team to watch over the next 3-4 years. Minnesota, I thought UMD was a better team throughout the game. Middlestat looked good, not great, and I thought the Perinovich kid looked really good.
My uncle was watching both nights.
My goodness.
And we talked. It must have been either towards the end of the second period, because again I was listening to it on the radio and he was watching it on TV, and he says, "This Perinovich kid's fun to watch." And I'm yeah.
It'll make him forget about the Peon kid at UMD.
Yeah.
They were playing 5 freshmen back there. Of course, the kid from Hermantown's playing top minutes. Perinovich and Mikey Anderson, who scored the first goal for UMD in that game. That's Joey's younger brother, and I think both Joey and Mikey signed when they were in 8th grade, and I can see why. Mikey Anderson's a very nice player, so that's 3 of their top 6D are young freshmen. I think they got another one that's a freshman, so a lot of good things for UMD if they all stay, but Perinovich is a real deal. I'm looking forward to watching him all year.
Yeah, good stuff there. So let's move on to the NFL, and of course the Vikes about an hour away from kicking off when we tape this show, and sounds like Bradford is going to be in the lineup. What's the rumblings you're hearing?
Well, not really rumblings. Expectations have jumped a notch, but
you mean because he might be playing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that, they obviously look at him as a little better than Case Keenum, and rightfully so. And but he's still got a bad knee. How much will he be able to move? Will he be, favoring it? Will he be able to push off? And those are all question marks that'll be answered probably in the first quarter. And Chicago's always dangerous at home, and especially on a Monday night. They got the new quarterback,
Trubinsky,
first overall pick. In essence, Mitchell Trubisky. Chicago traded a nice ransom to move up to that spot to get Mitchell Trubisky out of North Carolina. And so his era starts tonight, and we'll see how he does.
What are you expecting? Good, bad, mediocre?
Well, I'll give it to you this way. It's a kind of cliche-ish answer, but
I am
not, and you know that I'm not.
We don't use the cliche.
I'm not a cliche type guy, but I'm going to be one for a little bit here. Is if Chicago gets ahead, he'll be fine. If Minnesota gets ahead early and often, he's going to have a tough night.
Just because the Vikings will be tee off on him?
Chicago, you got to be aware of, has one of the best offensive lines in football. So ain't like the Vikings will be teeing off and getting tons of pressure. But
you got to remember that the Bears did run the ball against Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago, if I remember correctly. It was 2 weeks ago already, right?
Yeah, they got the Jordan Howard and the Tarek Cohen kid. Those kind of messed up fantasy teams, but they got 2 good running backs.
So do the Vikings use a lot of disguised coverages and looks and blitz looks and not blitzes and some zone blitzes to try to confuse the young quarterback to their advantage, or do they just go out and play their...
Well, that's supposed to be Zimmer's background, is confusing quarterbacks, confusing offensive coordinators. He's been pretty successful in that, and they definitely have the personality and the personnel to do it. I mean, they got 5-6 Pro Bowlers back there on defense. Danielle Hunter is probably a Pro Bowler to be. So good linebackers. Trey Waynes is getting a little better, but not up to Rhodes' standards yet. But I think there'll be enough confusion. But if they keep running the ball and they keep getting first downs running it, it's going to be a tough night for the Vikings. Prediction, I got Chicago winning.
Ooh.
Because of just what I said. I think they'll be able to run the ball. It's tough to win on the road on Monday night. That's a pretty high percentage on those games as far as home teams on Monday night. So I got the Vikings losing tonight in a low-scoring affair of 17-16, 3 field goals.
2017 Vikes win. I see they let go of Ridley today.
Yeah, how much do you get paid for that, you think? I mean, you come in for what?
4 days?
You signed him Thursday, days? So Thursday, obviously you didn't have something.
Something was
and they
not
picked
right.
up Michael Floyd, and that's the reason they had to drop him, because they obviously didn't want to move any of their wideouts out off their practice squad. So Ridley was probably the easiest answer, at least for this week. Don't be surprised if they don't
pick him up again.
Repick Ridley up and let him learn the offense a little better. So, but he wasn't ready to play tonight, so why have him on the roster?
Fair enough. What else did you see this weekend? The Giants go to 0-5. My Super Bowl pick, bottoming out nicely.
You can change right now. I'll let you.
Well. The scariest
such
part.
a sad state of affairs.
The scary part of that whole thought process is, I don't know if any team in the NFC has said, we're going to go rip that thing away and we're going to go be the best team in the NFC. I don't. I thought early on yesterday, I thought Dallas was going to put the smackdown on the Pack, and they let them back in, and of course the legend of Aaron Rodgers continues to grow. I just.
Somebody caught me. You put Aaron Rodgers on any of the NFC, even Chicago. You put him on any NFC Central team, they're going to come out the winner of that division. He's that good. Yeah. He's a difference maker. He just, I
hate to admit it. I don't like to, but yeah.
He's got 2 offensive tackles that are second stringers, and he's getting tons of pressure, but he knows how to get away from it. And his arm is like dead on. Nobody's better at getting out of the pocket and throwing the ball.
They showed the angle from the camera sitting in the end zone, the game-winning touchdown, and it was kind of zoomed in on him, and he was kind of facing like the middle of the field, and the ball was kind of coming over here, and he just kind of stepped like this and kind of slung it, the same throw that he had done the play before, and it was just like, no, it's right here. It's perfect. It was right where it needed to be, and it makes it very frustrating. And
yeah, he's good. I mean, hands down, best quarterback in football, even ahead of Brady now. So that's carrying the Packers, and that was a good game yesterday, by the way.
5 interceptions by.
Did you hear what he said?
No.
Roethlisberger?
No. Did he say, I need to lose like 25 pounds so I can be a more effective quarterback in the NFL?
No, the effective part was kind of part of his saying. He basically came out and said, maybe I'm just not, don't have the same
drive, passion,
same mechanics to be an NFL quarterback. So he's questioning his skill set. And I think the worst thing that happened, and typical Tomlin, though, didn't do anything about it. He said stuff, but doesn't do anything. That Antonio Brown blew up in their face, that whole thing. And when Jacksonville's ranked 30th in run defense, okay, and Roethlisberger throws it 55 times, the game plan going into that game was wrong. And the reason it was wrong is because Roethlisberger went to Antonio Brown probably 20 times in that game.
Okay.
Just, we got to make him happy. Otherwise, he's already caused problems in the locker room. Okay.
So you're saying he's Randy Moss?
Well, yeah. It's a typical wide receiver, and Odell Beckham, same way.
We don't have to worry about Odell
Bryant,
anymore.
Keyshawn Johnson was the same way. They just, something about the wide receiver's personalities that make teams bad. I mean, you cannot do that. You cannot show up your team, your coach, your quarterback, and make a tantrum out of something because you're not getting the ball enough. It's a team. And you know this. I mean, you're a football guy. There's probably no bigger team sport in all the Big Four.
Yeah.
Than football.
Absolutely.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers helps, but you think anybody's going to complain to Aaron Rodgers if they're not going to? You think Randall Cobb's going to come up? Hey, I only, got two targets all day. You think he would dare say that to Aaron Rodgers? Won't happen.
I tell Antonio Brown, get your butt open.
Get open, and I'm not spoon feeding you because they were double teaming Antonio Brown, and now you got Martavis Bryant on the other side. Wondering, well, I would be mad if I was him. Now you're singling him out. I'm wide open all day because I'm single covered, and all they do is go to Antonio Bryant. They better fix that this week or that team will be done.
Oh, that would break Tim's heart.
The Steelers, yeah.
Oh, it would break my heart to see them go like 3-13.
Well, because your Giants are already out.
No, because my brother and my best friend from when we grew up were both big Pittsburgh Steelers fans. So see them go 3-13,
you're basically throwing some sarcasm at me.
Yeah. I would, if they went 3-13, I wouldn't be. I might celebrate. I don't know.
I like sarcasm, Tim. That's a big part of my sense of humor.
No, I did not know that.
But your deliver there was awful. And the reason I can say that is because sarcasm is basically sent out for the person to understand. You sent it out, and I don't know that all your family and friends and all that are big Pittsburgh fans. So
Ryan and Jim,
you should work on that delivery a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, what else did you see?
Am I being hard on him?
No.
A little hard on Timmy? Anybody call you Timmy ever?
Chris Cuffingham.
I love Cuffy.
And he was one of the few people that I would allow.
I ain't gonna tell you what Cuffy used to call me, but
probably not TV worthy, right? Yeah. But YouTube worthy, so
YouTube worthy, yes, it would be that, but we're not gonna go there anyways.
What's next? Baseball? You want to talk?
A little bit.
Your Astros clinched.
They're the first team to clinch. Dodgers might clinch tonight. They go against Greinke though, which is always a tough out. Former LA Dodger. I know him more as a Kansas City Royal, but that'll be a tough out. And Yankees are playing right now, I believe.
The Cubs in Washington were playing when we came in. 1-1 going to the game.
Yankees probably play tomorrow.
Yankees play tonight at like 6
Central.
30, something like that.
So they're on pretty quick. Who's winning the Cubs game?
I picked the Nationals to win it all, and so I come out of the East, so I got to say that they're going to do that, and the Cubs had just tied it in the bottom of the 7th at 1.
Okay, so it's
tied going to the 8th inning, tied at 1.
Who pitched for the Strasburg?
Scherzer pitched.
Also, Scherzer has the mound tonight after his little injury scare.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, we're still in the middle of that. Again, Houston, my team,
right.
And I announced this back in April,
March before the season started.
So,
I'm holding you.
They were barely in training camp, and the old Boly boys naming the
World
American
Series
League.
game?
Yeah, I mean,
they won't get past the Cleveland Indians. I just hate to tell you
Cleveland does look good, except Miller did he give up that home run?
Yeah, well, I mean,
to Bird?
A 1-0 game. I mean, I'm not gonna.
I heard today it's the first time he's given up a home run to a left-handed hitter since 1938.
It's been a long time.
He's been in that league a long time.
Is that sarcasm?
Oh, you're finding catching on now, huh?
So let's see, National League. So we got Cubs in Washington, and then you said the Dodgers, and it looks like things are going to go to form probably.
How much have you watched?
Probably the scary part about that whole topic, I probably have watched more this year already than I probably watched the last 2 years combined.
Okay.
I actually did watch a little bit each evening, and I even went home after school today and sat down and watched a couple innings of the Cubs and the Nationals, which I couldn't believe I sat down and did that, but I did.
My problem, when I did kind of want to watch, I said, Mike, not much is happening. Yeah. Diana's out of the house, so I can't sit at the table and talk about life with her right now. So I think I maybe should go watch some sports.
Yeah. But you decided to go...
Oh, that's sarcasm.
Someplace else?
So I went into a front room and found a chair that was open.
This was very difficult, seeing how you were there by yourself?
Yes, and I sat down and looked all over. I checked TBS, I checked all the channels, ABC,
FS1?
NBC, all of them. Not FS1. Even checked TNT and all of them. So I said, well, geez, maybe I'll check KCC TV, Channel 7 out of International Falls. I can't find it anywhere else. Maybe it's on there.
There you go.
And it wasn't. Bugsy and the whole group of county board members were on, so I watched that, of course, for
a few minutes.
Just to see. They're always so happy. I can't believe they're always that happy in those meetings. But ever since the cameras got on them, they're all happy. So
coincidence.
I'm just teasing. But so I finally said, well, the only channel it could be on, which makes no sense since a lot of people don't get this channel, the Major League Baseball Network, which is channel 113.
Yep.
And that's where it was.
That's where it was.
Yep.
Yeah,
So I watched
they got you fishing a little bit to try to keep up.
So I watched about 4 pitches and said, that's enough. Went back to the county board commissioner.
Well, I have to admit, last night, the Kansas City-Houston game was kind of a snorer. It wasn't very exciting.
They're all, for me, they are. I just don't. If the Twins are in it, I enjoy. I'll watch.
No, I meant the football game was a snorer last night. But I understand what you mean.
Did you see the finish for fantasy football owners?
No.
Holy macadamia nuts. Yeah, it was crazy. Tyreek Hill, I mean, I don't want to get into my fantasy team, but I was right in it. And then he runs a punt back, and that killed, basically knocked us out. And then DeAndre Hopkins had 2 late touchdowns. They insignificant to the game. But fantasy football owners who have DeAndre Hopkins, one team in our league had him, ended up winning by 2 points.
Wow.
Because of DeAndre Hopkins' 2 late touchdowns. So you may say it was boring and all that, but to a fantasy football geek, it was actually pretty exciting.
Well, and the point I was making was that I flipped it over to the Yankees and the Cleveland Indians, and it was like 8:45, and the game started like at 6:45, and they were already in the 7th inning, and I'm like, a playoff game that might only go like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's
geez,
true.
this has got to be a world's record.
That's true.
So I decided, well, heck, this will finish up relatively quickly. I'm not kidding you. 1 hour later, I looked up at the clock just before I went to bed. It was 1 hour later, and it only made it from the top of the 7th to the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, that's what
like they were already in the top of the 7th with 1 out, and it was only 1 out in the bottom of the 8th, so they'd win an inning and a half in 60 minutes. I'm like, this is why people aren't watching.
That's exactly it. Especially later on in the game. Then all of a sudden you bring in a lefty to face a lefty, bring in a righty, and then you got 4 pitching changes. That's why I think when a pitcher comes in, they have to pitch at least 1 full inning, which would be 3 outs, and then they're allowed to make. That would quicken up the game because to me, they lose their audience because of boredom.
And the 2-minute and 25-second commercials that end up being about 3:25 by the time they get done letting them show Junior over here standing in the stands and whoever else is over. It just.
But also, you know what you don't have? I could probably still name every infielder on the Los Angeles Dodgers back in their heyday.
And you couldn't name one of them right now?
I can't because there's no personalities. There's no, Ronnie Say, the Penguin, over on third base. Bill Russell, the shortstop. Couldn't hit, but he could field. You got Steve Sachs and then Davey Lopes switching at second, and Steve Garvey over at first until he went to the San Diego Padres, and then he played with Ozzie Smith and Craig Nettles and that whole group. But these guys had personality back in the 70s and 80s. I'm sorry, they did. The Big Red Machine. The Oakland A's, Joe Rudy and Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, okay? These guys in today's game in the past 10 years, the only nicknames they're associated to are steroids, okay? But, Reggie Jackson and Billy Martin, you can't.
You could not stop watching.
You can't.
You could see a punch be thrown. You had to.
And it just seemed like every inning and every pitch was just exciting. And I was a younger kid. I was in my teens, and I should be out doing something, and I wasn't.
You were there watching.
I was watching with my dad and my brother Jer, and now I couldn't tell you who plays. I know Bird plays first for the Yankees, but I couldn't go around that infield like I could when I was young. I still remember it now. So something's wrong. Maybe it's just me, but
we're getting old, Michael. I hate to tell you.
Well, you are. I found that out. Geez, we built a stand the other day at Brucey Sandbeck's garage, and God, every time we did something, you could hear a knee coming out from my leg, and then Jimmy Haltman was there, and he was, he's actually looking good. He's lost some weight, but he was struggling. We're all struggling. We can't see as well as we used to, and what should have taken about an hour to build took us like 5 hours, but the beer consumption was up.
I was going to say, how was the beverage consumption?
Well, and that's another thing, is we had rules, too, that you don't start consuming libations till after the job was done. Well, those rules don't exist anymore. Yeah, they're thrown right out the window.
You guys need a grandkid or something that'll be living with you, or a son or something. That'll keep you young, everybody says.
We did have grandkids, me and Diana, all weekend, all 4 of them.
Oh, good Lord.
For one night, and I enjoyed the peaceful night in my daughter's old room, and I slept in there, and Diana slept at the end of the bed, and all 4 kids slept across our king bed. It was so awesome, and they were all just really good. The kids were awesome, and as soon as their moms and dads got them back, they turned back to little kids.
Little kids. There you go. What else? Anything?
Boy, I don't know. How about questions? Maybe that'll stir something up.
Women rock.
We got to talk about the Lynx.
The Lynx.
The Minnesota Lynx winning their WNBA championship last Wednesday night.
I believe they were the only championship game for Minnesota in 2017.
Yep, that would be true. The only.
That wouldn't be hard to beat.
Well, women rock.
We won 4 now out of the last 7 years, I believe.
And that ties them with the Houston Comets, who won the first 4 WNBA championships.
And I believe Rebecca Brunson maybe was on not one of those teams, but she might have been on Phoenix or something.
Right, she has won 5 individually.
Which nobody else has done. Sylvia Foles, who had a monster year, was also the MVP of the playoffs, so that's quite an accomplishment for her.
And I saw a tweet today, and that Lindsay Whalen, who I was talking about with somebody yesterday, and telling them that I think it was a good for her that she broke her wrist or arm during the season, because she looked full speed in the playoffs right till the end. It didn't look like she lost a step. And I saw a tweet that said she's getting up every morning before the sun's up because she's coming back. There's no doubt she's coming back to play next season.
I think all of them, I think one will be gone. I'm guessing Brunson's probably done with her 5, but Foles will be back. Maya Moore will be back.
Who looked, and don't take this wrong, Maya, because I know you're watching, just didn't look like Maya Moore of old. You know what I mean?
She was always good for 22 and 5, 22 and 6. You know,
and she might be having to take the Golden State approach where you gotta give the ball around, because you got so many good players on that team. You got to give a little so that everybody's a productive part of it. So,
well, to me, it's Sylvia Foles' team now, and it wasn't. It used to be Maya's team, and now it's Sylvia Foles' team, and rightfully so. But
don't take this wrong. She's a beast, and there's nobody that can play with her. She is just
the Griner girl probably could
if she wanted to.
If she wanted to,
she doesn't want to.
Big win by. Thanks for bringing that up for the Lynx. That's quite an accomplishment, and hopefully they can repeat again next year, because I think their window's slimming down. They've been getting a 10th or 11th pick every year in the draft, so it's tough to rebuild on those players. So their window's dwindling. The other teams are starting to catch up a little bit. Yeah, I see one more good run on.
I wonder if Simone Augustus has got anything left. I mean, they've drained, what did they say, 55 cc's of fluid off of her knee the day before the game 5. You just wonder how much at 30, I think she's 35 or 36.
Who's that?
Simone Augustus.
Simone Augustus, definitely.
Whether she's got anything left in the tank. Can she make another run for it? And I know they were talking about during training camp way back in May, and that Reed wasn't letting her practice very much, and was doing things differently than they had in the past. And she was actually kind of complaining that, well, when are we gonna get into this? And she kind of just told her, look, I'm not running you guys to death. The season's too long. Yeah. We're gonna be ready to go in October, and it worked out.
And so Simone Augustus, to her credit, was kind of the first all-star type player the Lynx have ever had, and she was kind of. Well, then Maya Moore came in, and of course Lindsay Whalen. They kind of took over from Simone, and I liked her hat though. She had a pretty cool hat at the parade.
I did not see the parade.
She looked good in that hat.
She looked good in that.
Now, if you put that hat on, it's kind of like one of those
70s type hats.
Yeah, it's cool. Now, if I put it on with this gargantuan noggin, I look like a complete idiot. But Augustus can pull it off. She looked cool. You know.
What else?
Good question. Thank you.
46 and 36.
Is that how many games they play? 82?
They play 82 games.
So they copy the NHL again.
Actually, I think the NHL used to play 80 and then changed to 82 like the NBA did.
Okay, that could be. I'll give you credit for that. It sounds like a better lie than mine, so I'll go with you on that. But
yeah, the Wolves will be are going to find a way. Just got done playing over in China, split with Golden State, if I remember right. I know they lost yesterday morning, but I think they won the first one. and then they start the regular season on October 18th, Wednesday. Next 2 Wednesdays from now, they get the regular season started along with the rest of the NBA, who is starting earlier than they ever have before. They always used to be the last Friday in October when they started.
Usually a couple weeks behind the NHL. Now they're like a week.
And they're trying to give the guys more days off so they have less of the sitting guys out for rest.
Yeah, I don't like that.
So they're giving them less back-to-back nights on the road, less 4 games in 5 nights type of thing. That they extended the week, the regular season, by about a week and a half, and hoping that they can eliminate some of those. And yeah,
I think the Wolves are going to jump up in the higher echelon. Not quite there with
number 8
Golden
seed.
State, but I say they're a top 4 seed. I think they get up into the 50s as far as wins. They got a lot of talent, and Butler and Taj, what's his name? Other new guy. Anyways, terrible. But the defense is going to be much better. And Butler's a stud. Teague, again, I mentioned this 3 weeks ago. He's going to be the key. If he's better than Rubio, which I know he is, he can shoot better than Rubio. I think they're in for a really good year, and we'll see if they gel. That's going to be the toughest thing.
Yeah, there's well, and like I said, it's almost the Golden State Warrior effect. All of a sudden, you get all these good players. Everybody's got to learn to play together. You can't be Antonio Brown that you're not getting the football enough.
It's a good point, but with Draymond Green, okay, Thompson,
yeah,
okay, they became good players when they joined up with Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Okay, great players like Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson.
So Pippen wasn't
They
good?
made Pippen and Jordan. I mean, no offense to Pippen, but Jordan made the team
So Larry
better.
Bird made Kevin McHale, is what you're saying.
Not totally different scenario there.
How is that different? Because Kevin's from Minnesota, and he went after James Harden the other day and said that he's...
Gosh, everything I do, I think I'm going somewhere. It's going to make magic, and you just bring it down. But I just think the key to great players is they make the players like a Draymond Green. He came out of Michigan State. He was a good college basketball player, but did you foresee a big NBA career? I thought he'd be a solid power forward scoring 8 to 10 a night. Well, he's become an all-star. Okay, so you put players around good players, they get better. So,
But you got to admit, when you get too many of those, you get a Kevin Durant now and a Steph Curry. Those are 2 legit superstars.
Yeah, right? Not a bad gig. I don't see Carmelo making Oklahoma City any better.
They're going to go
Carmelo's the type of player that drags teams down. So
yeah, because he's Antonio Brown. He's not willing to sacrifice a few touches a game to make the team better.
Great example.
It's all about Melo. It's all about Melo. And then you put him on there with Russell Westbrook, who it's all about him as well. Now you got 2 guys that are like that, and then you bring in Paul George and OKC. Yeah, they might win 50 games just because there's a certain number of nights that they're going to outscore everybody. But
so who's the 2 teams? Is this a prediction? Who's the 2 teams in the finals? Golden State and who?
Cleveland. I mean, come on, there's nobody else.
You gotta love the NBA.
Now, they just brought out today that they are thinking about going seeding just like the WNBA, going 1 through 16 and seeding it that way. I know Silver said he wasn't going to happen until they get a balanced schedule. I think this is gaining a lot of ground, a lot of wind, especially after what the WNBA did the last 2 years.
Yeah,
they got the
I like
best
what they
2
did.
teams.
Yep.
In the finals, things weren't snoozers. I think teams are going to start looking at this more, and the WNBA or the NBA can't look at this and say, well, eventually the East is going to catch up. I mean, this has been years and years and years that the West has been better, and I don't think you can have a truly balanced schedule. I don't think that's possible. The WNBA doesn't. So why don't you seed it? And I say try it and see if it don't work. Let it rip, get it out of there.
But if you do that, you got to even out the schedule too. You got to make sure, all the teams are playing each other. You can't have Eastern teams playing Eastern teams. Of course, all the Eastern teams are probably going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, but if they get seeded in 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, and they get knocked out by the Western teams.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done.
This is the most we've ever talked about the NBA on this show ever. Record this, put this in the history books.
Might be the most we ever do
Olmsted
ever.
talked about the NBA
In the future.
for more than 94 seconds.
Something more serious this Saturday, Mr.
Oh,
Pete
yes,
Foundation
we have
at the American, the 4th annual Mr. Pete Foundation, and lots of things, lots of prizes coming in. But what they want you to do is they want you to show up and buy tickets to the event. I believe it's 45, right around 45 bucks. I know my daughter Lexi went out and bought mine, and Diana's and hers for the banquet. And
I got mine.
we got lots of great prizes. My good buddy Neil Sheehy came out with 12 sets of 4 Minnesota Wild tickets.
Wow.
Okay?
Nice.
Value on those are 80 to 100 bucks. I'd say 100 bucks a seat. So $400 worth of tickets per
Percent.
set.
Wow.
So times that by 12, so that's like roughly over
Nice job,
close to
Neil
$5,000 worth of tickets that he donated. We
I
got
know
some.
there's got a Wild jersey.
We got some. We got some
a
stuff.
new Wild jersey, I think. The new style. The new ones. New company making them.
Yeah, I know we were getting that in. Bob Mason was. I have to write an email every year, and then he passes it on. So does that come in? Then you heard?
I saw it.
Okay, so he sends it to Bill, and Bill must have brought it
Bill
in.
showed me like 3 weeks ago at school.
And we got I think a Buffalo Bills jersey. I haven't even told Mr. Pete people yet, but I also got a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey coming.
Nice.
So don't know which number or name or anything.
Outstanding.
I just got it last week, and so that'll be coming in. So
And you're working on the Saturday project?
yeah, well, what are we gonna do there again? I gotta
Yeah,
get somebody. I'll get
yeah,
Gina. I got Gina's number, and I'll get a hold of her. And if she can't come, somebody
we'll
from
do
there.
a little bit of a coach's corner on Saturday, a little self-promotion for Saturday show. We'll have you guys on right around 9:25, 9:30ish, and we'll talk about the Mr. Pete Foundation and
Yeah.
and do a little stuff on that. A very worthy cause, and
Yeah, send me another text on that. That way I'll get a hold of Gina. And if she can't come, Kim Opelt's real good.
Okay.
She owes me a favor because I had to do her a favor too. So
there you hear
one for one.
Anything else?
We good?
We're good.
Don't take us too serious.
Thanks, everybody.
Woo!